Will the meeting please come to order? Today is Tuesday, October 1st, 2024. This is the 24th regular meeting of the current term of the Metropolitan Council of Nashville and Davidson County, and this meeting marks a full year since the first meeting of this term on October 3rd of 2023. Will all members of the council, as well as the public, please rise for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. The invocation this evening is being offered by both Council Member at Large Delisha Porterfield, as well as Ethan Freeman, a sixth grader at Lipscomb Academy. Ms. Porterfield, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Colleagues, I am often excited to bring a guest for invocation as it serves as an opportunity to share our faith and values as guests bring thought-provoking words to both challenge and encourage us as we serve our city. With so much happening since the last time we were gathered in these chambers, it was heavy on my heart that we take a few moments to acknowledge the heaviness of this moment, the tragedies, and to speak the names of those we have lost into the room. I am holding space for Yasir Paz. Yasir was incredibly loved. He was an 18-year-old who was gunned down September 8th after celebrating a friend's birthday here in Nashville. He was an avid soccer player, loved music, grilling in the backyard with friends, skateboarding, and being with his family. I am holding space for Felipe Woodard. An empty seat sits at Schwab Elementary, and a hole is left in the hearts of many as they mourn the loss of Felipe, a precious 8-year-old boy who was loved by his friends and family. His teachers described him as brilliant as they shared that he was accepted into the Gifted and Talented program this year at school. They spoke about his energy, his smile, and his love. Felipe lost his life on September 14th after accidentally discharging an unsecured gun. This is the third accidental child death from a firearm in Nashville so far this year. I am holding space for Marcellus Williams. Collectively, our hearts mourned on September 24th as America bore witness to the execution of Mr. Williams for a murder that he has always stood firm in saying that he did not commit. Despite DNA evidence showing that he may not have committed the murder, and against the will of the victim's family, the prosecutor in the case, the juror, and millions of Americans, an innocent man was killed. This is not justice. And despite facing his own unjust death, his last words were, "All praise be to Allah in every situation." I am holding space for those impacted by Hurricane Helen, where 160 people lost their lives in 6 states, including our fellow Tennesseans, where family members remain missing, infrastructure crumbled and collapsed, cities are stranded, cut off from civilization, and residents are without essentials like food, water, baby formula, and diapers. I hold space for the workers who right here in Tennessee were denied the ability to leave their place of employment, a denial that costs lives. And lastly, I am holding space for the Jewish and Muslim communities as the world reflects on the pain and terror caused by Hamas on October 7th. I hold space for the hostages and their families and those that lost their lives. I hold space for Palestinians in the face of genocide and in their lifelong fight for liberation. I'm thankful that our hearts can be big enough to hold space for both our Muslim and Jewish brothers and sisters and weep with both the people of Israel and the people of Palestine, despite the actions of Hamas, the Israeli government, and even the actions of our own. We can and should hold space for all who have lost and all who grieve. With so much hurt and heaviness, I go back to the last words of Marcellus Williams, "All praise be to Allah in every situation." Despite the faults, the heaviness, and the failures, despite the injustices that many of us face, our city, our state, and our country is still worth fighting for, saving. And that is the work that we are tasked to do every day. We are elected and tasked with making a better Nashville for our residents, for our children, for our families, and for our workers, for our senior citizens, and for us all. So may we never forget what is important. May we serve with compassion, empathy, and understanding. May we lead with righteousness, integrity, and love. May we continue until we all know justice, liberation, and peace, holding onto our faith, believing that a change will come.
I was born by the river in a little tent. Oh, just like the river I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know the change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. It's been too long, but I'm afraid to die, 'cause I don't know what's up there beyond the sky. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. Then I go to the movies and I go downtown, but somebody keep telling me don't hang around. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. Then I go to my brother and I say, brother, help me please. But he winds up knocking me back down on my feet. Oh, there've been times that I thought I couldn't last for long, but now I think I'm able to carry on. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. Oh, yes, it will. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much, Ethan. Ethan is 11 years old, a sixth grader, and thank you, council member. Council members, as I shared in my newsletter to you yesterday, our joint inauguration was 1 year ago yesterday on September 30th. And thanks to Clerk Kyle, I can share with you that since our first meeting on October 3rd, 2023, the council has passed 708 resolutions, 472 ordinances, and 159 of those were zoning ordinances. 591 pieces of legislation have been referred to the Budget and Finance Committee, 648 to the Planning and Zoning Committee, Chair Gamble, And 413 to the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, Chair Parker. 211 bills to Public Health and Safety, Chair Evans. And 130 to Rules, Confirmations, and Public Elections. 94 to Arts, Parks, and Libraries, Chair Gimbel. And 62 bills have been referred to Government Operations, Chair Hill. So one bill in Charter Revision Committee, but I think we all know there was a lot more discussion about multiple charter amendments than just being that one bill. So, okay, so that's a little bit of a recap of our legislative history there. I think Pro Tem Sepulveda touched on it, but please continue to remind your constituents that the last day to register to vote in the Tuesday, November 5th election is October the 7th. And that there will be 2 weeks of early voting at 12 locations. So please encourage your constituents to vote early across the city and that will start on Wednesday, October the 16th. Also beginning on Wednesday, October 16th, council and community members will have received a press release from Public Health and Safety Chair Evans and me about a series of special called meetings regarding domestic violence victim safety and offender accountability. Look for that having arrived in your inbox yesterday. Please do read that release and plan now to attend those meetings here in our chamber on Wednesdays, October 16th, and October 30th at 4 o'clock, and the In Her Shoes simulation on Wednesday, October 23rd at the Justice Birch Courthouse building across the street. The council office and I will be sending additional information and requesting RSVPs so that we can ensure strong attendance, not just in committee, but by the full council, commensurate with the fact that domestic violence accounts for nearly half of all violent crime in Nashville. Metro has many important community partners in domestic violence work, and one of those is the YWCA. So I want to thank them for joining us last week in our chamber for their annual Stand Against Racism and Injustice. Members will find the YW's pledge on your desk, and I hope you will take it to heart. The theme of this year's YW event was public health and social determinants of health, and Minority Caucus Chair Toombs chaired a resolution from the council, so thank you to her for her leadership. Also regarding public health, I want to thank the Metro Public Health Department for partnering with us for the second year on a pop-up vaccination clinic as we work to fight flu as a community. Their team shared, as I came across the mezzanine, with still a few more minutes to spare, that they had vaccinated 85 members of the community this evening. So kudos to them. And I believe last year we had 60-something, so that's quite an improvement from last year. So thank you to everyone for taking care of themselves, their family, and the community. The Fight Flu Nashville campaign continues throughout flu season, and on October 15th, council members, there will be from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. a free drive-through vaccination clinic at the Lentz Public Health Center at 2500 Charlotte Avenue. So please share that vaccination opportunity. I know Ms. Lee touched on it, as did Councilmember Porterfield in her invocation, but we certainly send our condolences and good wishes in a very, very difficult time to the people of East Tennessee and from Nashville to Asheville, North Carolina, and all the surrounding communities as they recover from the devastation of Hurricane Helene. Nashville is no stranger to the devastation of tornadoes and floods, but the destruction of this storm has been at a level that is difficult to fathom. And finally, I wish a Happy New Year, Shana Tova, to our Jewish members and the greater Nashville community. Rosh Hashanah begins at sunset tomorrow evening. Okay, so without objection, we will suspend the calling of the roll and ask the clerk to record the names of the members present throughout the meeting. Is there a motion for the approval of the minutes of the meeting of September 17th? Okay. With a motion properly seconded and without objection, the minutes of the meeting of September 17th are approved. Mr. Clerk, are there any messages from the mayor?
There are no messages from the mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. We appreciate the mayor joining us today for his own vaccination and with his staff. And then mayor was with us here and several council members from the Donaldson Hermitage area today as well for their leadership group. Okay. So now we are moving into section E of our agenda, appointees and nominees. This portion of the agenda shares all persons that were scheduled to appear before the Rules, Confirmations, and Public Elections Committee this evening. Referrals back to committee will be by rule as part of the council's two-meeting process for all elections and confirmations. No votes will be taken by the body in this section of the agenda other than for deferrals. Chair Prep T, committee report, please. First, with any withdrawals or deferrals, please, sir.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. In relation to the Auditorium Commission reappointment of Jerry Pentecost for a term expiring on June 30th, 2027, Rules, Confirmations, and Public Election Committee voted in favor of a one-meeting deferral, 7 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting.
Okay.
As well, the Contracting Compliance Board Commission, Contracting Compliance Board nomination of Councilmember Jennifer Webb was withdrawn.
Okay.
As well, the Property Standards and Appeals Board reappointment of Lynn Wilkinson was also withdrawn.
Okay. Mr. Prep T, will you make a motion for the one meeting deferral of Mr. Jerry Pentecost, please?
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay. All in favor? Any discussion on the deferral? Okay. All in favor, please say aye. Okay. That is deferred one meeting. Okay. Go ahead then, Mr. Prep T. Just a very brief summary report, the name of the board and commission, those persons who were interviewed by your committee, and will be referred back for confirmation consideration on October 15th, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Rules, Confirmation, and Public Elections Committee considered the following. The Contracting Compliance Board, a nominee of Councilmember Sandra Sepulveda by Councilmember Sean Parker, voted 6 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. The Contract and Compliance Board nomination for a term expiring October 15th, 2026 of Ann Barnett, as well as Dante Gleaves, voted 7 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting respectively. For the Housing Trust Fund Commission nomination to fill one vacancy for a term expiring on September 17th, 2029. Considering the nomination of the Honorable Gloria Hauser as well as Jayla Thomas, respectively, voted 7 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting on both. The Contract and Compliance Board appointment of the Honorable Fabian Bedne for a term expiring on July 27th, 2026, as well as the Contract and Compliance Board appointment of Michael, the name that I'm blanking on, Italian, Adiva.
Idevia?
Idevia, there we go. Voted 7 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting respectively, as well. Moving forward with the Contract and Compliance Board appointment of Matt Neal, as well as Alfredo Pena III, for terms expiring on September 5th, 2026 and September 3rd, 2026, respectively, voted 7 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. For the Convention Center Authority reappointment of Nora Dykstra, for a term expiring on September 30th, 2028, voted 6 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting for approval. Convention Center Authority reappointment of Sima Pastrada for a term expiring September 30th, 2028, voted 7 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. For the Finance Director appointment of Janine Reed as the Metropolitan Director of Finance, voted 7 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. And with that, I move approval.
Okay.
For
Yep,
referral.
and those are all re-referral by rule. So all those folks having been interviewed, unless deferred or withdrawn, will be back before Chair Prep T's committee for final consideration on October 15th. Okay, Chair Prep T, again, for your committee report on appointees in the second step of your committee's two-meeting process. First for any deferrals, if there are any, sir.
There are no deferrals, Madam Vice Mayor.
Okay. Then with that, just for the persons who have received a vote of recommendation by your committee and a consolidated motion for those same appointees, please, sir.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. The Rules Confirmation and Public Elections Committee considered the Civil Service Commission appointment of Jason T. Evans for a term expiring on March 31st, 2025, and voted 7 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. The committee also considered the Property Standards and Appeal Board's appointment of Daniel B. DePriest for a term expiring on July 27th, 2028, and voted 7 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. And with that, I move approval.
Okay. Properly moved and seconded. Is any member seeking to be recognized to remove an item from this collective vote, be recorded as abstaining on either of these two? Okay, so without objection, we'll be voting on these two together in a consolidated motion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any voting no? Any abstaining? Okay, so council has confirmed two great folks, and if you were just confirmed and have returned to join us in chambers this evening, which is optional in step 2 here, please do stand to be recognized when you hear your name called. First is Mr. Jason T. Evans to the Civil Service Commission. And then also Daniel B. DePriest to the Property Standards and Appeals Board. If they are watching from home, no matter where they are, we do want to express our appreciation and congratulations to them. We appreciate their willingness to serve. Okay, now we're moving into section G, nominations for the East Bank Authority. Nominations will be taken for 2 vacancies on the authority. There is 1 vacancy with a term expiring June 30th and another with a term expiring in 2026 and the other with an expiration in June 30th and 2027. If you would please enter the queue if you have a nomination and it is not necessary for your nomination to be particular to the shorter or the longer term. That will be determined through the subsequent vote. Okay. Yes, do you have a point of order, Ms. Toombs? Go ahead, please.
Yes, Madam Vice Mayor, can you explain I didn't really understand what you just said. We're going to vote, nominate in one big group, but
Correct.
you said it'll be determined by the subsequent vote?
It will. Ms. Darby and I spoke about this earlier today. I asked her to be prepared to respond. It is per Rule 50.3. Ms. Darby, can you explain, please?
Yeah, so we'll take nominations. You won't make the nomination based on the term. You'll just make a nomination. When they come up for election, they will all go up for the same election. And, excuse me, the longest term will be filled first by the top vote getter, and then so on.
Does that clarify for your point of order? Any other members seeking a point of order, parliamentary inquiry? No? Okay. All right. With that, we'll then move on to the nominations. Mr. Coupin, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to nominate Mikhail Houghton, please.
Okay. Councilmember Coupin has nominated Mikhail Houghton. Councilmember Cortez, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I would like to nominate Carrie Garner.
Okay. Councilman Cortez has nominated Carrie Garner. Okay. Councilwoman Toombs, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. I'd like to nominate Nathaniel Carter.
Okay. Councilmember Toombs has nominated Nathaniel Carter. Councilmember Parker, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to nominate Scott Tift.
Okay. Councilmember Parker has nominated Scott Tift. Okay. Ms. Webb, you are recognized.
I would like to nominate Bob Braswell.
Okay. Councilmember Webb has nominated Bob Braswell. Are any other council members seeking to nominate a member of the community to the East Bank Authority, Development Authority? Okay, seeing none, our nominations are closed. If you all will please confer with Mr. Clerk so that he is sure to have all the contact information for your nominee. So next is Section H on our agenda, the public comment period. Members of the public wishing to speak during public comment period may sign up on the council meeting sign-up sheet at the Metro Clerk's office counter on the day of a scheduled council meeting. Public comment sign-up begins at 5 p.m. and ends at 6 p.m. Public comment is limited to 20 minutes total, and each speaker is allowed up to 2 minutes to speak. Requests for interpretation services should be directed to the council office. Persons speaking on agenda items must be prioritized to comply with state law, and all those who sign up for public comment by signing up acknowledge that they have read our public comment procedures. So first, for public comment is Mr. Delbert Campbell. Mr. Campbell is speaking on the suite of public safety bills, 509, 510, 511, and 512. You are recognized, sir.
Hello, Vice Mayor, council members. Thank you for allowing me to speak. These bills need to move forward. Now, this is a professional setting, yet I want to scream. I want to shout because my spirit is still full about the July incident. But that horse is out the barn in respect to what our children experienced from those supremacists and hate groups. Our children, their parents, our fellow citizens and visitors witnessed not only the act, but the optics, thanks to our news media shown across the country, witnessed a pretense of protection that at the very least bordered on police negligent dereliction of duty toward our children. Also a misguided discretion by police approaching our children instead of the perpetrators. Now that's at the very least. At the very worst, the police on the scene that day were active participants. Now, are we to believe there are no bad actors speckled within our police department? This speaks to their training because we know, especially in my community, 37207 and 37208, that police carry in their tool belt a critical item, discretion, such wide discretion that figuratively police could cite the gravy on a plate for bumping into the cornbread. I welcome all to Nashville, even the supremacists, while having in my tool belt prayer, that we may have dialogue so they may see that there are way more reasons to love me and my community than to hate me. Hopefully the dialogue would trigger their reset button so that they may reevaluate their programming, behavior, and their affiliations. These bills are set to make things right in Nashville.
Thank you, sir. Your time is concluded.
Thank you.
Next is Lauren Gallant-Rakowski. She is also speaking on a public safety bill, ordinance 2024-510, speaking in opposition. Go ahead.
I'm very short, so let's see how this goes. So my name is Lauren. I am an immunocompromised member of the community here in opposition to BL 2024-510. But I ask you again why I am here. I am here because my email about this wasn't enough, because health and religious exemptions are not enough, when the enforcing arm of this ordinance is the police. These enhancements that BL 2024-510 outlines, no matter their intent, will lead to more profiling and harm towards marginalized communities. This is not something I bring out without studies to back me up. Researchers Kahn and Money in 2021 examined both the social attitudes and police responses to Black, Brown, and Asian communities masking early in the pandemic. Thus, breaking local ordinances like the one that is seeking to be enhanced by 2024-510. This led to an increased rate in racial profiling for Black and Brown communities and an increased rate of harassment for the Asian communities. When NNPD already has a startling lack of oversight for their actions, are you going to put the disabled community at risk? Are you going to put the trans community at risk? Black, brown, indigenous, religious minorities, are you going to continue to put them at risk? So I ask you, why am I here? Mi llama es Lauren, o Lauren. Yo soy una miembro de comunidad humana compromiso. Estoy aquí en oposición de BL 2024 510. Gracias.
Thank you. That concludes our public comment. Okay, we're now moving into section I of our agenda, followed quickly by section J. These are our resolutions and bills on public hearing. Spanish interpretation services are provided for Metro Council public hearings. This evening, Ms. Sandra Obando de Ruiz is here as the interpreter. Ms. Obando de Ruiz, will you please share how you can help?
Buenas noches, voy a ser su intérprete en español para la sesión de esta noche. Gracias.
Thank you. We appreciate you. Okay, for those wishing to speak this evening as part of our public hearings, please do state your name clearly, but it is not required for you to provide your address if you do not wish to do so. You may, of course, but you may want to tell us in what neighborhood or area you live or on what street, what your connection is to the project, or who your council member is. Okay, first we have one resolution on public hearing. This is RS 2024-735, sponsor CAP. This is a resolution exempting CORE, located at 97 Chapel Avenue, from the minimum distance requirements for obtaining a beer permit pursuant to section 7.08.090, .e of the Metropolitan Code. Mr. Cap, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to open the public hearing.
Okay. I declare the public hearing open. Would all members of the public here in support of this resolution please raise your hand? Okay. Would all members of the public here in opposition to this resolution please raise your hand? Okay, seeing no one here in opposition, does the person here in support wish to speak? Okay, I hear a no. So with that, I declare the public hearing closed, and it's back to you, Mr. Cap.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Yep. Government Operations and Regulations Committee Chair Hill, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. We heard voted in favor, 8 in favor, voted to approve, 8 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting.
Okay, back to you, Mr. Cap, for a motion.
Yes, move approval.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Properly moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion on this resolution? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, no, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, you have adopted this resolution. Okay, next we'll move right into bills on public hearing. First among those, agenda item 2, ordinance BL 2024-478, sponsor Allen. This is an ordinance to amend chapter 6.28 of the Metropolitan Code pertaining to short-term rental properties. Ms. Allen, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Do I do the public hearing or the committee reports first?
You can open the public hearing first.
Thank you. I would like to open the public hearing, please.
Okay. All right. Well, I declare the public hearing open. Would all members of the public here in support of this bill please raise your hand? Okay. Would all members of the public here in opposition to this bill please raise your hand? Okay. I see one there in opposition. Okay. If persons wishing to speak in support, of which I did not see any. Knowing, though, that there is opposition, does the person in opposition seek to speak? Okay. Please come forward to the podium, please.
Hi, my name is Nicole Williams. I live in the Nations. I am pretty agnostic on short-term rentals, but I am not agnostic on good public policy. And I think that several provisions of the proposed ordinance are pretty bad public policy. So first of all, you have the fact that neighbors can submit affidavits, which I know people are going to say, well, they're affidavits. Okay, first of all, people lie. And secondly, it's quite possible that a neighbor could believe that something is true and write in a letter, submit an affidavit saying my next door neighbor doesn't live there. And it's not actually true. Like, I'm a very private person. I don't really talk to my neighbors that much. Some of them might not know I live next to them, and that's sort of by design. But I wouldn't want them to be able to claim that I don't live where I live. And then for the zoning administrator to make a decision based on that. The second issue that I found was the fact that the zoning administrator can use your statement, not only that you don't currently reside in the home as your primary residence, like that makes sense if you say, I don't live there, and then you're asking for an owner-occupied permit. Yes, absolutely, don't give it to them. But if you state that you may not live there as your primary residence at some point during the 12 months that the permit is valid, they can also deny it. So if I say offhand, I'm moving in 11 months, is it still okay for me to get this permit? Well, yeah, it is okay until 11 months from now, at which point my permit is no longer valid. But because I say I'm moving in 11 months, the zoning administrator can say, okay, well, I'm not granting you the permit now. And then the third issue is the 6-month waiting period if your permit is denied, which I understand that is to prevent bad actors from like going back again and again and again and reapplying. But people might just not have had the paperwork that they needed, might not have been aware of the updated paperwork, and they get denied, and then they have to wait 6 months. That's it. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else seeking to be recognized on this bill? Okay. Seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed. And so it's back to you, Sponsor Allen, to request committee reports.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. I would like to ask for committee reports, please.
Okay. Government Operations and Regulations, Chair Hill, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. We heard 478 and voted 10 in favor, 0 against, 0 non-voting to approve.
Okay. And did you take up the amendment separately, or was that on
That was as amended. So we brought the amendment up in the same 10 in favor, 0 against, 0 non-voting.
Got it. Okay. Thank you, Chair Hill. Okay. It's back to you, Ms. Allen, for motion on your bill.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. I'd like to move approval with the brief explanation.
Okay. Is there a second? Okay. Go ahead, ma'am.
Great, thank you. So this bill is the result of a task group that met over the period of close to a year that was made up of short-term rental owners, neighbors of short-term rentals, and people from the Codes Department, as well as neighborhood association representatives, just to look at issues that have come up sort of as we've lived with this for a number of years now. And the biggest issue that was identified was the ability to fraudulently obtain an owner-occupied permit and the difficulty of removing those permits. So we are trying to give the zoning administrator more tools. I appreciate the input here, and I am in a minute going to talk about deferring so that we will have some more time to make adjustments. But currently, I would like to have this approved so I can add an amendment, and then I'll come back and talk about that in a second. So the biggest focus of this was just giving the zoning administrator better tools to ensure that someone who is asking for an owner-occupied permit can prove that definitively. So we are increasing the number of documents required from 2 to 5. It also adds the 6-month waiting period, which I appreciate the input on that, and we'll look at that. Clarifies some language about ownership change that the lawyers asked, and allows a single public hearing for multiple units at the same address, which was also something that was kind of a housekeeping request that was made. So with that, I would like to move for approval at this point. I would like to move the amendment.
Do you want to move the amendment
at this point?
first?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So there's second on the motion to amend. Okay. Any explanation on your amendment?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So the amendment, again, is brought forth from our legal team, who frequently follows up when the short-term rental board hears appeals on properties, and in their opinion, the case has been made that an owner-occupied permit was fraudulently obtained. That can be appealed at environmental court, and our legal team has felt like in a number of cases, they have had difficulty in defending the decision of our appeals board, which was based on the evidence put in front of them, but the language currently uses the words permanently reside, and because of language in state law, that has been easy to tie to the domicile requirement, which essentially means if someone says, I intend to come back at some point in the future, then that it qualifies as their domicile, and that then matches the language that we have. So this changes the language from permanently reside to primary residence. That's easier to defend in court. And then also adds some more tax forms so that there are additional documents that can be used to prove occupancy. With that, I would like to move the amendment.
Okay, and you already had a second on that motion to amend. Is there any discussion on the amendment? Okay, seeing none. All in favor of the amendment, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, so it's back to you for a motion on your bill as amended.
Thank you. And now I'd like to move the bill. I would like to defer the bill as amended for one meeting so that we can have time to incorporate suggestions that are made from both speakers and other folks that contacted me after this. So I'm moving for one meeting deferral.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the bill as amended being deferred one meeting? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, that is deferred one meeting. Okay. Next for public hearing are two companion bills, agenda item 3 and 4, sponsor Toombs. This is ordinance BL 2024-486 and 487. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, by changing from RS 7.5 to SP zoning for property located at 520 Ewing Drive, approximately 375 feet west of Gwenwood Drive. This is 3.58 acres to permit 56 multifamily residential units. The companion bill 487 requires certain materials on that same project to be restricted. So Ms. Toombs, it's to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. I am going to move to defer both 3 and 4 to the first meeting in November.
Okay. Is there a second? Okay, so there is a motion to defer to the first meeting in November. Ms. Toombs, first meeting in November, which will be, colleagues, and for the public or anybody interested in this bill, that is going to be on November 7th. Okay, not November 5th due to the election. Okay, so there is a motion to defer both of these bills, 486 and 487, to the first meeting in November, which will be November 7th. It's properly seconded. Is there any discussion on the deferral? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Okay, any voting no or abstaining? Okay, this is deferred to the public hearing of November 7th. Or both of these are, thank you. Okay, next is agenda item 5, ordinance BL 2024-526, sponsor Toombs. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, by changing from R10 to R8 zoning for property located at 2152 Summit Avenue, approximately 165 feet southwest of Cliff Drive. This is 0.42 acres. Ms. Toombs, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Request to open a public hearing.
Okay, I declare the public hearing open. Would all members of the public here in support of this bill please raise your hand? Okay, don't see any out there. Would all members of the public here in opposition to this bill please raise your hand? Okay, I also do not see any of those, Ms. Toombs. So seeing no one here to speak in opposition or support, I declare the public hearing closed, and it's back to you, Ms. Toombs.
Move for approval.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, there's a motion to approve on the second of 3 readings, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, this has passed the second reading. Next is Agenda Item 6, Sponsor Welsh, Ordinance BL 2024-527. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, by changing from RS 7.5 to RM 20A NS zoning for property located at 218 Chilton Street, approximately 190 feet 5 feet east of Nolensville Pike. This is 0.23 acres. Ms. Welsh, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to open the public hearing.
Okay, I declare the public hearing open. Would all members of the public here in support of this bill please raise your hand? Thank you. Would all members of the public here in opposition to this bill please raise your hand? Okay, seeing no one here in opposition, does the gentleman in support seek to be recognized to speak? Nope. Okay, so with that, I declare the public hearing closed. And it's back to you, Ms. Welsh.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Move to approve.
Okay, is there a second? There's a motion to approve, properly seconded. Is there any discussion on this bill? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, this bill has passed the second of 2 readings. Next is Agenda Item 7, Ordinance BL 2024-528, Sponsor Kimbrough. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, by changing from RS10 to R10 zoning for property located at 3107 Doak Avenue, approximately 99 feet southwest of Haley Avenue. This is 0.29 acres. Ms. Kimbrough, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to open the public hearing.
Okay, I declare the public hearing open. Would all members of the public here in support of this bill please raise your hand? Okay, would all members of the public here in opposition to this bill please raise your hand? Okay, I see one person in opposition. With that, will persons wishing to speak in support or opposition please come forward? Do you seek to be recognized, sir, to speak in opposition? Sir, who raised your hand in opposition, are you seeking to be recognized to speak in opposition? Okay, okay. All right, seeing no one here seeking to be recognized to speak in support or opposition, I will declare the public hearing closed, and it's back to you, Ms. Kimbrough.
I'd like to move for approval.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, there's a motion to approve, properly seconded. Is there any discussion on this bill? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, this has passed the second of 2 readings. Next is Agenda Item 8, Ordinance BL 2024-529, Sponsor Toombs. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, by changing from R8 to IWD zoning for properties located at 400 Haney Avenue, 2714 and 2720 Brick Church Pike at the northwest corner of Brick Church Pike and Woodfolk Avenue. This is 0.84 acres. Councilmember Toombs, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Request to open the public hearing.
Okay, I declare the public hearing open. Would all members of the public here in support of this bill please raise your hand? Okay, thank you. Would all members of the public here in opposition to this bill please raise your hand? Okay, seeing no one here in opposition, does the person here in support wish to speak? Okay, he has said no. And seeing no one else, I declare the public hearing closed. And so it's back to you, Ms. Toombs, for motion.
Move for approval.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, there's a motion to approve, properly seconded. Is there any discussion on this bill? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, this has passed the second of 3 readings. Next is Agenda Item 9, Ordinance BL 2024-530, Sponsor Welsh. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, by changing from RS5 to R6A zoning for property located at 203 Alberta Street, approximately 52 feet west of Foster Avenue. This is 0.12 acres. Councilmember Welsh, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to open the public hearing.
Okay, I declare the public hearing open. Would all members of the public here in support of this bill please raise your hand? Okay. Would all members of the public here in opposition to this bill please raise your hand? Okay. Seeing no one here in support or opposition, I declare the public hearing closed, and it's back to you, Ms. Welsh, for a motion on your bill.
Move to approve.
Is there a second? Okay, properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this bill? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, this has passed the second of 3 readings. Next are agenda items 10 and 11. These are companion bills. Ordinance BL 2024-531, sponsors Coupin and Horton, and BL 2024-532, which is regarding the materials for 531. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, by applying a historic preservation overlay district to properties located at 2115, 2205, and 2205B Elliston Place, approximately 285 feet west of 21st Avenue North. This is zoned CS and is 0.52 acres. Mr. Coupin, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Madam President. Open the public hearing, please.
Okay, I declare the public hearing open. Would all members of the public here in support of these 2 bills please raise your hand? Okay, thank you. Would all members of the public here in opposition to these bills please raise your hand? Okay, seeing no one here in opposition, does the gentleman here in support seek to be recognized? He is saying no, and so with that, I declare the public hearing closed, and it's back to you, Mr. Coupin, for a motion on these bills.
Move approval.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, Mr. Coupin has moved approval of these 2 bills. So it's 531 and it's companion bill 532. It's properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, both these bills have passed their second reading. Next is agenda item 12, ordinance BL 2024-533, sponsor Toombs. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, by changing from RS 7.5 to R15 zoning for property located at 650 Ewing Drive, approximately 135 feet east of Claymeal Boulevard. This is 0.71 acres. Ms. Toombs, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Request to open the public hearing.
Okay. I declare the public hearing open. Would all members of the public here in support of this bill please raise your hand? Okay. Would all members of the public here in opposition to this bill please raise your hand? Okay. Seeing no one here in opposition, does the gentleman here in support seek to be recognized? Okay. He is nodding his head no, Ms. Toombs. And so with that, I will declare the public hearing closed, and it's back to you for a motion on the bill.
Move for approval.
Is there a second? Okay. Properly moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion on this bill? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay. This is passed its second of 3 readings. Agenda item 13, ordinance BL 2024-534, sponsor Welsh, is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, by changing from RS5 to R6A zoning for property located at 2218 Foster Avenue, approximately 160 feet north of Rose Street. This is 0.17 acres. Councilmember Welsh, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. We meet again.
We meet again. I know it's like you, Ms. Toombs and you, just back and forth all night.
I would like to open the public hearing.
Okay, well, I will declare the public hearing open. Would all members of the public here in support of this bill please raise your hand? Okay, I see none. Would all members of the public here in opposition to this bill please raise your hand? Okay, I see none on either side, and so with that, I will declare the public hearing closed, and it's back to you. We didn't, okay. Public hearing is closed. Back to you, Councilmember Welsh, for a motion on your bill.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Move to approve.
Okay. Is there a second? There's a motion to approve, properly seconded. Is there any discussion on this bill? Okay. Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay. This has passed the second of 3 readings. Okay, next is agenda item 14, ordinance BL 2024-535, sponsors Bradford and Gamble. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County by changing from R20 to SP zoning for property located at 2377 Couchville Pike, approximately 1,471 feet west of Reynolds Road. This is 34.77 acres to permit industrial uses. Chair Gamble, you are recognized, ma'am.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to open the public hearing.
Okay, I declare the public hearing open. Would all members of the public here in support of this bill please raise your hand? Okay, thank you, sir. Would all members of the public here in opposition to this bill please raise your hand? Okay, seeing no one here in opposition, does the gentleman's support seek to be recognized or to speak? He is saying no. And so with that, I will declare the public hearing closed, and it's back to you, Chair Gamble, for a motion on this bill.
Thank you. Move for approval.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this bill? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, Clerk Kyle, would you please record Ms. Porterfield as an abstention on this bill? Is that the sole abstention? Okay. All right, this has passed the second of 3 readings. Next are agenda items 15 and 16, which are companion bills to each other. Ordinance BL 2024-536 and -537, sponsor Benton. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, by amending a specific plan for property located at 2158 Una Antioch Pike at the current terminus of Oak Barrel Drive, zoned SP 8.9 acres to permit 45 multifamily residential units, and its companion ordinance 537, which requires certain materials to be restricted in the construction of the buildings. Mr. Benton, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to open the public hearing.
Okay, I declare the public hearing open. Would all members of the public here in support of these bills please raise your hand? Okay, thank you, sir. Would all members of the public here in opposition to these bills please raise your hand? Okay, seeing no one here in opposition, does the gentleman's support seek to be recognized? He is shaking his head no. So, Mr. Benton, it's back to you for a motion on both these bills, sir.
Thank you. I'd like to move approval, please.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, properly moved and seconded. This is a motion to approve both 536 and 537. Is there any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, both these bills have passed their second of 3 readings. Next is agenda item 17, ordinance BL 2024-538, sponsor Toombs. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, by changing from RS5 to R6A zoning for property located at 1228 Bessie Avenue, approximately 150 feet south of Weekly Avenue. This is 0.12 acres. Councilmember Toombs, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Request to open the public hearing.
Okay, I declare the public hearing open. Would all members of the public here in support of this bill please raise your hand? Okay, seeing none there. Would all members of the public here in opposition to this bill please raise your hand? Okay, seeing none on either side, I will declare the public hearing closed, and it's back to you, Ms. Toombs, for a motion on your bill.
Move for approval.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, properly moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion on Bill 538? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, Bill 538 has passed its second of 3 readings. Next is agenda item 18, ordinance BL 2024-539, sponsored Taylor. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, by changing from R6 to OR20ANS zoning for property located at 1809 9th Avenue North, approximately 145 feet north of Buchanan Street, and located within a detached accessory dwelling unit overlay district. This is 0.12 acres. Councilman Taylor, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I would like to open the public hearing, please.
Okay, I declare the public hearing open. Would all members of the public here in support of this bill please raise your hand? Thank you, sir. Would all members of the public here in opposition to this bill please raise your hand? Okay, seeing no one here in opposition, does the gentleman in support seek to be recognized or to speak? He is saying no, Councilman Taylor. And so with that, I will declare the public hearing closed, and it's back to you for a motion on your bill.
Thank you. I'd like to move for approval.
Is there a second? Okay, properly moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion on this bill? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, this has passed its second of 3 readings. Okay, next is agenda item 21. This is ordinance, is that correct? Or did I skip ahead on that? Okay, I apologize. I skipped ahead on that one. I apologize. Okay, we are, so that was agenda item 18. So we are now on agenda item 19. Is that correct? Okay. Ordinance BL 2024-540, sponsors Coupin and Horton. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County by changing from DTC, Downtown Code, to SP zoning for properties located at 701 and 709 Ewing Avenue at the southwest corner of Middleton Street and Ewing Avenue. This is 0.52 acres to permit non-residential uses. Councilman Coupin, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Madam President. Open the public hearing, please.
Okay, yep. I declare the public hearing open. Would all members of the public here in support of this bill please raise your hand? Thank you, sir. Would all members of the public here in opposition to this bill please raise your hand? Okay, seeing no one here in opposition, does the gentleman in support seek to be recognized or to speak? He's shaking his head no, Mr. Coupin. And so with that, I will declare the public hearing closed, and it's back to you for a motion on your bill.
Move approval, please.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, it's properly moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion on this bill? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no, any abstaining? Okay, this has passed its second of 3 readings. Now we're on agenda item 20, ordinance BL 2024-541, sponsor Bradford and Gamble. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County by changing from AR to A to IWD zoning for properties located at 2435 Pulley Road and Pulley Road unnumbered, approximately 690 feet north of Couchville Pike. This is 16.91 acres. Chair Gamble, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Request to open the public hearing.
Okay, I declare the public hearing open. Would all members of the public here in support of this bill please raise your hand? Okay. Would all members of the public here in opposition to this bill please raise your hand? Okay, seeing no one here in opposition, do those members of the public here in support seek to be recognized or to speak? Okay, I'm seeing a lot of folks nodding their head no. Just giving one last call. There's a lot of people here in support. Okay, seeing no one else seeking to be recognized to speak, Chair Gamble, I will declare the public hearing closed, and it's back to you for a motion.
Thank you. Move for approval.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, properly moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion on this bill? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, Mr. Clerk, if you'd please record Ms. Porterfield as an abstention on 541. Okay, this has passed its second of 3 readings. Okay. Next is agenda item 21, ordinance BL 2024-542, sponsor Gamble. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County by applying a neighborhood landmark overlay district on property located at 815 Nella Drive, approximately 486 feet west of Green Acres Drive, zoned RS20. This is 0.61 acres and located within a historic landmark overlay district to permit all uses of RS20, cultural center, short-term rental property not owner occupied, and multimedia production uses. Ms. Gamble, Chair, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Request to open the public hearing.
Okay, I declare the public hearing open. Would all members of the public here in support of this bill please raise your hand? Thank you, folks. Okay, would all members here in opposition to this bill please raise your hand? Okay, seeing no one here in opposition, do the folks here in support seek to be recognized or speak? Okay. They are all shaking their head no, Chair Gamble. And so with that, I will declare the public hearing closed, and it's back to you for a motion on your bill.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I have an amendment.
Yeah, if you just move approval, get the bill before us.
All right, move for approval.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, so the bill is before us, and you may offer your amendment now.
Thank you. I'd like to move an amendment with a brief explanation.
Okay, is there a second on the motion to amend? Okay, go ahead, please, ma'am.
Thank you. I worked really hard with the community and with the property owner to come up with some guidelines that would address quality of life. This particular property was once owned by Patsy Cline, the country singer. There's a lot of interest in the property, and we're excited that it's been added to the historical register for Nashville, and now in providing this historic landmark overlay, people will be able to come and tour the house. So the amendment adds a maximum of vehicle or a maximum number of vehicles on the property. There will be a driveway required on the property that will be limited to no more than 8 cars and 1 bus at a time. Also, the maximum occupancy in the structure shall not exceed the allowed occupancy permitted by the building codes. And finally, the maximum occupancy for a non-owner occupied short-term rental will be limited to 10 persons. And so with that, I request support on adding in this amendment.
Okay, you have heard an explanation of the amendment from Chair Gamble. It has been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the amendment? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of the amendment, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, so it's back to you, Chair Gamble, for a motion on your bill as amended.
Thank you. I'd like to move for approval as amended.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the bill as amended on second reading? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, this has passed its second of 3 readings as amended. Next are agenda items 22 and 23. They are companion bills to each other. Ordinance BL 2024-543 and 544, sponsor Horton. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, by changing from IWD and R10 to SP zoning for property located at 525 Basswood Avenue and a portion of property located at 517 Basswood Avenue. This is at the southwest corner of Robertson Avenue and Basswood Avenue. It is 30.2 acres to permit a mixed-use development. And again, it's Companion Bill 544, which requires certain materials to be restricted in the construction of that property. So, Mr. Horton, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to open the public hearing, please.
Okay, I declare the public hearing open. Would all members of the public here in support of this bill please raise your hand? Okay, thank you. Would all members of the public here in opposition to this bill please raise your hand? Okay, seeing no one here in opposition, do those here in support seek to be recognized or to speak? Okay, they are nodding their heads no, Mr. Horton. And so with that, I will declare the public hearing closed. And it's back to you for a consolidated motion, please, on both these bills.
Thank you. I'd like to move for approval, please.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, there's a motion to approve 543 and 544 in a consolidated motion on second reading. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or any abstaining? Okay, those have both passed their second of 3 readings. Next is agenda item 24. This is ordinance BL 2024-546, sponsor Vo. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, by changing from IR to MUGANS zoning for property located at 1300 Fort Negley Boulevard at the southeast corner of Fort Negley Court and Fort Negley Boulevard. This is 1.87 acres. Councilmember Vo, you are recognized.
Thanks, Vice Mayor. I'd like to request to open the public hearing, please.
Yep. I declare the public hearing open. Would all members of the public here in support of this bill please raise your hand? Okay. Would all members of the public here in opposition to this bill please raise your hand? Okay. Seeing no one here in support or opposition, I will declare the public hearing closed, and it's back to you, Ms. Vo, for a motion on your bill.
Thank you. I'd like to move for approval.
Okay. Is there a second? Okay. It's properly moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion on 546? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, 546 has passed second reading. Next is Agenda Item 25, Ordinance BL 2024-547, sponsor Sepulveda. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County by changing from OR 20 to MULANS zoning for property located at 360 Wallace Road, approximately 800 feet east of Nolensville Pike. This is 1.26 acres. Pro Tem Suara, or rather Sepulveda, look at me there. Sorry about that. Pro Tem Sepulveda, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Move to open the public hearing.
Okay, I declare the public hearing open. Would all members of the public here in support of this bill please raise your hand? Thank you. Would all members of the public here in opposition to this bill please raise your hand? Okay, seeing no one here in opposition, do those folks here in support seek to be recognized or to speak? They are shaking their head no, Ms. Sepulveda. And so with that, I will declare the public hearing closed, and it's back to you for a motion on this bill.
Move for approval.
Is there a second? Okay, properly moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, this has passed its second of three readings. Okay, next is three companion bills, Agenda Item 26, 27, and 28, sponsor GAD. All of these can be taken together. They are Ordinance BL 2024-548, 549, and 550. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, by changing from SCC to SP zoning for a portion of property located at 40 White Bridge Pike, approximately 375 feet west of Post Place and located within a commercial planned unit development overlay district. This is 3.67 acres to permit a mixed use development. There is the associated bill for 40 White Bridge Pike that requires certain materials to be restricted. That is 549. And then 550 is an ordinance to amend Title 17 by amending a portion of a commercial planned unit development overlay district on a portion of property located at 40 White Bridge Pike. This is zoned SCC 3.67 acres to add multifamily residential as a permitted use and to permit a maximum of 277 multifamily residential units. Okay, Ms. Gadd, these can all be taken together for public hearing. Oh, I'm sorry, after all that, would you like to open the public hearing?
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Madam President. I would like to two things is say thank you to all my constituents who are here and to wait to the end of our public hearing. To be here to speak either in support or in opposition. And with that, I would like to open the public hearing.
Okay, I declare the public hearing open for these three companion bills. Would all members of the public here in support of these bills please raise your hand? Okay. Would all members of the public here in opposition to these bills please raise your hands? Okay. Seeing that there are persons here in opposition, do persons here in support wish to speak? Yes, I am presuming so. Okay, so persons in opposition will speak after those speaking in support. So if those persons wishing to speak in support will please come forward then to the podium, those among you that would like to speak. Okay, go ahead, sir.
Good evening.
Thank you, council members, for your service and for the opportunity to speak in support of Novel Richland Creek. My name is Simcha Ward, and I'm a Director of Development with Crescent Communities. This has been a long and fruitful process for our company, one that began in the summer of 2020. After 4 years of community engagement, we are pleased to put forward a proposal that is aligned with planning policy for this location. I want to begin by thanking Councilmember Gadd for facilitating numerous neighbor and community stakeholder meetings. We've held 15 engagement meetings in 2024, in addition to many more in prior years. I also want to thank our team members who prepared for these meetings, listened intently, and made countless modifications to the plans as a result of community feedback, including reductions in height and density, modifying the architecture, and enhancing pedestrian, bicycle, and mass transit access and infrastructure. Thank you to the many public servants who have provided valuable feedback, including Metro Planning staff, the Nashville Department of Transportation, and Metro Parks and Greenways. Thank you to Walk Bike Nashville and Greenways for Nashville for sharing their perspectives and their wish lists along the way. Thank you to many individuals who wrote, called, and showed up to speak today in support of this proposal. I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize Nashville State's President, Dr. Jackson, for her valuable feedback on our project. She's authorized me to share her enthusiasm for the upgrades to the WeGo network on White Bridge Road, especially our agreement to fund a new WeGo stop adjacent to the campus. Lastly, thanks to Richard Borofsky, CEO of Villa Maria Manor and Mary Queen of Angels, for facilitating our meeting with the elders of these neighboring communities and for the letter stating that both the diocese and the residents are comfortable with our plans and supportive of the pedestrian safety enhancements. Joining me today are Parker Hawkins from Hawkins Partners, who will speak to you about policy alignment, and Beth Ostrowski from KCI Technologies to discuss traffic and parking. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Good evening. I'm Parker Hawkins with Hawkins Partners. I live 2 miles from this site, and as a native Nashvilleian, I've frequented it for my entire life. In 1976, this site was zoned as a planned unit development with a focus entirely on retail and commercial development. In the last 50 years, city planning objectives have changed considerably, promoting more mixed-use policy and zoning. These ideals allow for more walkable, efficient, and connected development plans. In response, Metro Planning and Council adopted form-based code in 2005. That code was enhanced in 2015 with the Nashville Next Community Character Manual, a 3-year process engaging thousands of Nashvilleians in the development of shared community goals and vision, which was then passed by Metro Planning Commission and Metro Council. Novel Richland Creek builds on that vision. According to Nashville Next, this site is identified as a Tier 1 activity center, meaning it is the highest priority for the city's investment to meet long-term goals. The 2040 Access Nashville Plan identified White Bridge Road as a priority corridor and a high-capacity transit corridor, which supports residential and job growth. This is where Metro Planning determined growth in our city should occur, and we agree. This policy is defined as T4 Urban Community Center, which encourages development as intense mixed-use areas. We meet this criteria by providing residential and retail uses and a more connected multimodal network with improvements to the Richland Creek Greenway and Music City Bikeway, added sidewalks throughout the development, and improved WeGo access. We endorse the Nashville Next plan with this development. Today, we embrace the moniker of the trail-oriented development as we welcome Greenway users to live, gather, and play here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Go ahead, ma'am.
Hello, I'm Beth Ostrowski, traffic engineer and regional practice leader for KCI Technologies. I'm also a direct neighbor for this project with my personal residence less than half a mile from this project site. My team began our work on this site in 2020, coordinating closely with NDOT and meeting their requirements at that time. More recently, we coordinated with NDOT earlier this year to update our 2020 and 2021 efforts to meet the new MMTA requirements. In coordination with NDOT, we scoped the project when we re-engaged and followed their requirements to conduct updated analysis and add components related to bicycle and pedestrian mobility and safety. That analysis was submitted in March 2024. I'm grateful to NDOT for their collaboration and review of our study. NDOT submitted a comprehensive list of conditions following their review. Our team is accepting of all of NDOT's conditions. One such condition set forth by NDOT at Planning Commission was additional analysis related to the installation of the new traffic signal. Since Planning Commission, we've conducted additional analysis and created a more complex model using VISM, a traffic microsimulation software. We have reviewed that work with NDOT and submitted a memo and videos documenting the work we've completed. We are working hand in hand with NDOT to advance the approval of the traffic signal. Opponents of this project may speak out with traffic concerns. It is my professional opinion that this project has gone above and beyond to mitigate traffic issues that are mainly existing issues that are there today. If you have any questions regarding mobility or traffic, I'm available to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name's Laura Lee Doby, and I live at 3815 Whitland Avenue, and I'm speaking in support of the novel Richland Creek development. When I moved to Nashville many years ago, 1981, my very first job was with Mayor Richard Fulton. One of the things I remember most fondly is his attention to infrastructure. Every single day, throughout the day, whether he was on his way to work or going to meetings, he had a tape recorder in hand, and he would speak into that tape recorder if he saw potholes, sidewalk needs, bus stop, whatever it was. And then he would come in the next day, hand the tape recorder to his secretary. She would type all that out, cut it up, put it in manila envelopes, and send it off to the department heads for their attention. As someone who has lived off of West End for more than 20 years and uses this shopping center multiple times a week, I know that there are lots of basic infrastructure needs at this site. I support this development because the developer has opted to pay attention to those infrastructure needs and make improvements. There will be 2 new bus stops, crosswalks, a sidewalk, marked bikeway, a new trailhead, new stormwater drainage system, and the list goes on. We all know that the traffic has gotten worse everywhere, and my commute on White Bridge and West End can be maddening. But I also know that the solution is not going to be to stop building housing. So I would like for you to support this development because I believe this developer is attending to the demands on the infrastructure in this area as a result. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Hello, my name is Rudy Edelin. I live at 207B Osceola Avenue, and I'm speaking in support of the novel Richland Creek project. Since I graduated college and moved to Nashville in 2015, I've lived in Sylvan Park, the Nations, Charlotte Park, and now I'm proud to own a home right off White Bridge Road down towards the intersection with Charlotte. I've spent the last decade circling this corridor of West Nashville, whether commuting to my job across the street from the Belmead Plaza, running the Richland Creek Greenway, or grabbing a drink at Neighbors, and I hope to continue calling it home for several more. During my time here, I've seen this place grow and change and experience the good and the bad. Yes, I spend more time in traffic on White Bridge or Weston or Charlotte than I'm used to. And yes, I've seen some of our favorite storefronts or local businesses get replaced by something new. But I've also seen the massive upside to this growth. I've seen this community become younger and more diverse. I've seen most businesses thrive. And I see more people on the Richland Creek Greenway every time I go for a run. These are signs of a healthy community. And while there are always growing pains, we need to encourage healthy growth, not resist it. I support the project development because I believe it supports this upward trajectory. It will revamp an old shopping center that I visit every week by making it more walkable, safer for drivers and pedestrians, and by adding a better access point to the Greenway. It will put density where it belongs, in a commercial center close to Nashville's urban core rather than in a suburban neighborhood, and it will replace a vacant department store that has no business being there anymore. I'm excited to see the new faces that move into my neighborhood. I'm excited to see the Steinmart lot get the facelift it deserves, and I'm excited to take advantage of the infrastructure improvements that this project offers to neighbors like me. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Go ahead.
Hello, my name is John Jameson, and I live at 215 Leonard Avenue, just off Harding. I'm speaking in support of the novel Richland Creek project. I was born and raised in Nashville and even worked at the Target on White Bridge next door. However, had I not had a car, this area would have been inaccessible to me. Without a designated bike path and improved pedestrian safety, this area remains inaccessible to many of those less fortunate than I. Since my childhood, I've seen the cost of housing grow exponentially to the point where it is no longer a feasible goal for many Nashvillians. I can't think of a better solution than housing density with green infrastructure next to this Target and Trader Joe's. That Steinmart has been vacant for years now. The sooner it gets revitalized, the better. Its ideal location means something will be coming one way or another, so I ask, why not create something that will benefit the entire neighborhood? Thank you for your time, Council.
Thank you. Come on forward. You're recognized. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Caroline Willett, and I live at 78A Brookwood Terrace. I'm speaking in support of the novel Richland Creek development. I'm a Nashville native, and I love living here, but I'm aware of what our community needs to grow in the right direction. We need more housing options to handle growth. Across my neighborhood, hundreds of homes are popping up, and existing land is becoming more and more valuable. I would love to own a home here one day, but where it stands right now, that looks uncertain. I like apartment complexes like Novel Richland Creek because it houses more people and less space, decreasing the need for high-density, single-family housing, which has taken over my neighborhood. Whether we like it or not, our community is growing, and we need to address this growth correctly. Keeping this space retail seems like a loss when this development promises so many improvements to the direct area. The Richland Creek Greenway is a huge community asset, and improving it only serves to benefit us all. Thank you for your time, and please consider my views when reviewing the novel Richland Creek development.
Thank you. Go ahead, please.
Hi, my name is Caroline Clements. I live at 511D Stevenson Street, and I'm expressing my support for the novel Richland Creek project. As a resident of West Nashville, I'm aware of our need for diverse housing options. This project, in my opinion, offers a lot to our community that we're going to benefit from directly as neighbors. What I'm most excited about is the extension and improvement of the Richland Creek Greenway. Unfortunately, kind of like everyone else has said, green space access is shrinking, and I really jump to support developments that are going to add community benefits like green space access to the public and to neighbors of this community. This project is going to increase our entire access to this space, which is important to ensure that, we're growing in the right way with all of our neighbors and us in mind. And I walk this greenway, multiple times a week, as many of my neighbors do. And I'm really excited to see how kind of our environment is going to benefit from this extension. And I also really like the idea of mixed-use development in general. I attended one of the community meetings at TCAT a few months back, and I was really impressed by this developments plan. And I think it's a really good idea to intermix residential development and commercial space to decrease car congestion and improve the walkability of this entire shopping center. This project, I believe, is going to serve to address what we need now and improve the quality of life for residents like me. Thanks so much for your consideration.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here seeking to be recognized in support of the project? Okay, seeing none, were those folks in opposition, please come forward to the podium. If you seek to speak. You don't all have to come. Go ahead, please, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Jesse, and I live at 4487 Post Place, which is right next door to this Lion's Head development. And I moved here in 1971, and I've tried to go away, but then I always come back to Nashville. So I really have passion about Nashville, and I have passion about housing, especially if it's affordable. This isn't affordable, but that's not something that you can do anything about. But density divorced from infrastructure can be a disaster. And so I think I understand people's desire to put density in a shopping mall. But if you approve the rezoning of the proposed Richland Creek development, will you condition it on having a traffic light? There is no traffic light that goes from the Trader Joe's passage to White Bridge Road, and it's a very busy intersection. And so we would like the developer to pay for a traffic light at the shopping center exit that is synchronized regularly with the other traffic lights and checked at intervals during the years, and to improve traffic flow and safety of people that live nearby like me. I vote no because adding novel residents to the shopping center right now without a traffic light would create a really big traffic jam on Post Place Road. There's a lot of traffic that comes from the shopping center and in and out of Lion's Head and Mary Queen of Angels and all of the other facilities. And so all of that traps Lion's Head condo residents and others who exit from there. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Go ahead, sir.
Howdy. My name's Ray Walker. I live at 4487 Post Place. I didn't bring my prepared statement to read, like a number of people did. We're going to have we got a lot of old people live there. A lot of old people live in Villa Maria and the nursing home behind there. There's a lot of people push their buggies over to the shopping center to get their groceries and do their shopping. Now look at your watch and figure out how old you are. Do you want to be pushing your buggy across that street with all this traffic? You're going to get old, hopefully, sometime. And this is going to create it already is creating a traffic problem coming through Dalt's parking lot. They put a Cane's chicken place in there. We got a traffic jam there all the time. So just think about, they want to change the zoning code. Does this allow them to get their foot in the door to demolish that shopping center and put another, it's going to end up looking like Charlotte. If they get their foot in the door, they're going to want more. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. My name is Matt Fleming. I live immediately adjacent to the proposed redevelopment complex. And I would rely for my logic for opposing it on the eloquent testimony of the people in favor of it, who've already told you that the traffic is way too dense for the infrastructure. And they propose to add automobiles associated with 277 high-density units in a very small footprint to that already wiped-out infrastructure. Does that make sense to anybody here? The proposed remediations for this new traffic is one stoplight, which is already flanked by two other stoplights. You can't, no one in this room can solve the problems on White Bridge Road leading up to Harding or to the other direction to Charlotte. You can't do it. Trust me, I'll take you through it and I'll show you. So adding 400, 500 new cars, making 2 trips a day in a very narrow space is not possible, period. The second thing that the proponents for the bill spoke so eloquently about in their well-written testimony was that they want to make sure that the access to the Greenway remains true. What they didn't tell you was that they're going to dump a building site in front of that trailhead to the Greenway, which I use 3 times a day. I'll happily take you all on a tour of the area. I've walked that circuit thousands of times, not once a day, thousands of times. And I can show you all the problems that will come out of it if you add 400, 500 cars. And remember, the parking lot isn't controlled by the city, and the parking lot is the #1 problem. Access to for these cars to the new development goes through a private parking lot, which you guys can't control, and which the old people use to get to their stores. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, sir. Okay, seeing no one else seeking to speak, I declare the public hearing closed. And it's back to you, Ms. Gadd, for a consolidated motion on these 3 bills.
All right. Thank you so much to everyone who came to speak. And with that, I will make a consolidated motion on this bill, a move for approval and with a brief comment.
Okay, so Ms. Gadd has moved approval of 548, 549, and 550, appropriately seconded. Okay, and it's back to you, Ms. Gadd.
All right. Thank you so much. And I do want to thank everyone. I know I was able to be with several of the folks who spoke yesterday evening as well. And so I appreciate you taking the time to be here. I appreciate everyone for this evening, for caring so much to come to many community meetings and many other one-on-ones, and also appreciate this development. From everything I've told them, that we're not moving forward unless this happens, unless you meet with this group, unless this comes to fruition and you agree to it. I'm very, very thrilled with that aspect. With that, I wanted to let folks in the public that may be listening and watching online, and those who may still be here, just a reminder, I'll let folks know there is an amendment that will be coming for the third reading in order to make sure we include conditions and improvements, just like the neighbors at Lions Head and others are requesting, which is an additional traffic light. I think we're close to that, and I've pledged to make sure that's a part of this, and the synchronization aspect, as well as making sure we continue to create all the other additions that were requested by those that have lifted up on pedestrian safety with Villa Maria and other requests from Nashville State Community College, and doing a better job of trying to interconnect these private properties along White Bridge. And there's also a few other requests that have come from the HOA. And I think at this point, at Lions Head, at this point, we're in a place that we're writing those up, a recorded official easement for some of their property that they would like to have, and some other maintenance and landscaping issues. So with that, I just wanted to say thank you to the entire community who have continued to give much feedback. Because of that, that's going to make this better. And with that, I'm incredibly excited. I'm also excited about the Greenways for Nashville participating in this and continuing to provide their feedback of how we can improve the Greenway, and making those changes a part of the amendment that will be coming. So with all that long speak, I will move for approval, but want to make sure that folks will be aware that we will be having amendment before the third meeting.
Okay, appreciate the clarification. We had already moved and approved, and seconded,
So you don't need anything else from
those
me?
three.
Oh.
Now we're on discussion of the consolidated motion to approve 548, 549, and 550. Mr. Horton, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I rise in support of this bill. This is located in District 20, but it's right across the street from us in it's located in District 24, but it's right across the street from us in District 20, so it's relevant for our residents as well. And I'm particularly grateful for the hard work and leadership that Councilmember Gadd has provided on behalf of both of our districts on this, and making sure that this is the best possible project it can be for the benefits of both District 20 and District 24 and all of West Nashville. So very happy to vote yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Horton. Is there any further discussion on these three bills and the motion to approve on the second of three readings? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, Mr. Druffel. Okay, Mr. Clerk, if you would record Mr. Druffel as an abstention on 548, 549, and 550. Okay, those bills have passed the second of three readings. And that concludes all our bills on public hearing. We appreciate everyone who came out for public hearing. Thank you. Okay, so next we're going to move into our consent agenda, or consolidated consent agenda. All resolutions And second and third reading ordinances on this agenda are included on the consent agenda if recommended for approval unanimously by all the committees to which the item was referred. Items on the consent agenda will be voted on at a single time. The item number, along with the resolution and ordinance number of the items on the consent agenda, will be read by me for the viewing public. And members of the council may remove any item from the consent agenda by request before the consent agenda vote is taken. Okay? All right. So, starting now with our consolidated consent agenda, the first is agenda item 30, resolution 2024-736. Next is agenda item 31, resolution 2024-737. Agenda item 32, resolution 2024-738. Agenda item 33, resolution 2024-739. Agenda item 34, resolution 2024-740. Agenda item 35, resolution 2024-741. Agenda item 36, resolution 2024-742. Agenda item 37, resolution 2024-743. Agenda item 38, resolution 2024-744. Agenda item 39, resolution 2024-745. Next is agenda item 41, resolution 2024-747. Agenda item 42, resolution 2024-748. Agenda item 43, resolution 2024-749. Agenda item 44, resolution 2024-750. Agenda item 45, resolution 2024-751. Agenda item 46, resolution 2024-752. Agenda item 47, resolution 2024-753. Agenda item 48, resolution 2024-754. Agenda item 49, resolution 2024-755. Agenda item 50, resolution 2024-756. Agenda item 51, resolution 2024-757. Agenda item 52, resolution 2024-758. Agenda item 53, resolution 2024-759. Agenda item 54, resolution 2024-760. Agenda item 55, resolution 2024-761. Agenda item 56, resolution 2024-762. Agenda item 57, resolution 2024-763. Agenda item 58, resolution 2024-764. Agenda item 59, resolution 2024-765. Agenda item 60, resolution 2024-766. Agenda item 61, resolution 2024-767. Agenda item 62, Resolution 2024-768. Agenda item 63, Resolution 2024-769. Agenda item 66, Resolution 2024-772. And agenda item 67, Resolution 2024-773. Moving on to bills on second reading, proposed for the consolidated consent agenda. Okay, first among those is agenda item 97, ordinance BL 2024-441. Agenda item 98, ordinance BL 2024-551. Now on to third reading. Items proposed for the consent agenda. First among those is agenda item 101, ordinance BL 2024-509. Agenda item 102, ordinance BL 2024-510. Agenda item 103, ordinance BL 2024-511. Agenda item 104, ordinance BL 2024-512. Agenda item 105, ordinance BL 2024-513. Agenda item 106, ordinance BL 2024-514. Agenda item 107, ordinance BL 2024-516. Agenda item 108, ordinance BL 2024-517. Agenda item 109, ordinance BL 2024-518. Agenda item 110, ordinance BL 2024-519. Agenda item 111, ordinance BL 2024-520. Agenda item 112, ordinance BL 2024-521. Agenda item 113, ordinance BL 2024-522. Agenda item 114, ordinance BL 2024-523. Agenda item 115, ordinance BL 2024-524. And then lastly, agenda item 116, ordinance BL 2024-525. Okay. Do any items need to be removed from the consent agenda? If so, if members would please enter the queue. Okay, Ms. Porterfield, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I would like to remove agenda item 105, 513.
Okay, agenda item 105, BL 513 has been removed from the consent agenda. Okay, next, Ms. Welsh, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I would like to remove items 101, 102, and 104.
Okay, 101, 102, and 104.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Those are ordinances 509, 510, and 512. Okay. Okay, Mr. Cortez, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I would like to remove agenda item 103, 511.
Okay, that's agenda item 103. Ordinance 511 will be removed from consent. Okay, Councilmember Suara, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Item number 66, please.
Okay, agenda item 66, resolution 772 will be removed from consent. Ms. Stiles, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to take agenda item 67 off of the
Okay.
consent. Thank you.
Agenda item 67, resolution 773 will be removed from consent. Okay, Ms. Evans Siegel, you're recognized.
Thank you. I'd like to remove item 97, 441.
Okay, agenda item 97, ordinance 441 will be removed from consent. Okay. Are any other members seeking to remove an item from the consolidated consent agenda? Okay. With that, then, we will get committee reports for all items that remain on the consent agenda. Okay, Budget Chair Porterfield, you are recognized, ma'am.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Budget and Finance considered the following items. RS 2024-736, approved 10 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. RS 2024-737, approved 11 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. RS 2024-738, approved 10 in favor, 0 against, and 0 not voting. RS 2024-739 through 741, approved 11 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. RS 2024-742 through 744, approved 10 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. RS 2024-745, 11 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. RS 2024-747 through 749, 10 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. RS 2024-750, 11 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. RS 2024-751 through 757, 10 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. RS 2024-758 and 759, 11 in favor, 0 against, and 0 not voting. And RS 2024-760 through 764, 10 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting.
Okay. All right. Next, Arts, Parks, and Libraries. Chair Gadd, you're recognized.
We had 2 items on our agenda, and so I will cover both of those. I think they remain on the consent agenda. RS 2024-755, that passed 7 in favor, 0 against, 0 opposed. Item RS 2024-756, passed 7 in favor, 0 against, 0 opposed.
Okay. Thank you. Next, to Government Operations and Regulations. Chair Hill, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Item 46, 752, 8 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. And next, Planning and Zoning. Chair Gamble, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Planning and Zoning considered the following items on consent: RS 2024-742, 744, 745, 747, 748, 749, 750, 751, 764, 765, 766, 767, 768, and 769. Recommended approval, 9 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting.
Thank you, Chair Gamble. Next, for Public Health and Safety, Vice Chair Huffman, you're recognized, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Public Health and Safety considered the following items: RS 2024-740, 9 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. RS 2024-753, that was approved, 9 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. RS 2024-754, that is 9 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. RS 2024-758, 9 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. RS 2024-759, 9 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Okay, next for Rules, Confirmations, and Public Elections, Mr. Prep-T, your 2 resolutions were pulled off of consent, but you do have 1 ordinance, sir. I believe, is that BL 2024-551?
That is correct. Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Rules, Confirmations, Public Elections, consider BL 2024-551, voted 6 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting to approve.
Okay. Thank you, sir. And then last among the committee reports, Transportation and Infrastructure. Chair Parker, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Transportation and Infrastructure considered resolutions RS 2024-745, 762, and 764 through 769. Recommended approval of all of those, 11 in favor, 0 against, and 0 not voting.
Okay, all committee reports are in, Chair Parker, so if you could move the consent agenda.
With all committee reports in, I'll move the consent agenda.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, properly moved and properly seconded. All in favor of the bills on consolidated consent, please say aye.
Aye.
Any voting no? Any abstaining? Okay, all items on the consent agenda have passed. Okay, now we'll go back to items or resolutions that were not on consent. Okay. Right, first among those is agenda item 29. This is resolution 2024-686. This is sponsors Porterfield, Gamble, and Rutherford. This is a resolution approving an intergovernmental license agreement between the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County and the United States of America to enter certain property located at 1414 County Hospital Road, owned by the Metropolitan Government for limited military training purposes. Ms. Porterfield, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Okay, let's see.
Are
Say
all
again.
committee reports in?
I think all committee
Okay.
reports are
Move
in.
for
yeah.
approval.
Okay, there is a motion to approve. Is there a second? Okay, and so we're on discussion of the bill. And so, Ms. Kimbrough, are you seeking to be recognized on discussion? Okay. I see it now. Yes, ma'am. You are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I filed an amendment to
Yes,
this
ma'am.
bill, and I'd like to move that as well.
Okay.
And explain.
Okay, there is a motion to amend, properly seconded. Go ahead, ma'am.
All right. This amendment to this bill, it involves military training, is the overall bill. But my amendment is just to have notice go out to the Bordeaux Hills neighborhood, the neighborhood that is adjacent to where the training location will be, so that all residents will know about each home, not every person in there, but each residence would know the time, the place, and the location of the training, so they won't be startled or alarmed when the noises are taking place.
Okay, I appreciate the explanation of the amendment. Is there any further discussion on the motion to amend? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of the amendment, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, so the amendment is on the bill. Ms. Porterfield, do you want to provide us a motion on the bill as amended?
Yes, move for approval as amended.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, is there any discussion on the bill as amended? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, this resolution has passed as amended. Okay, the next resolution is Agenda Item 40, RS 2024-746. Sponsors Johnston, Gamble, Sepulveda, Porterfield, Evans, Welsh, Ellis, and Swara. This is a resolution amending resolutions RS 2021-1152 as amended, which appropriated $3,148,980 in American Rescue Plan Act funds, and RS 2023-1952, which appropriated an additional $326,800 of American Rescue Plan Act funds to the Office of Family Safety for the Metropolitan Government to reallocate the use of funds, and approving Amendment 2 to grant agreements between the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, acting by and through the Office of Family Safety, to various nonprofit organizations. Ms. Johnson, this is a Rule 8, correct? Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am.
I believe so,
Go
but do we
ahead.
need committee reports regardless?
Indeed, we do. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, Budget and Finance Chair Porterfield, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Budget and Finance considered this item and voted 11 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting for a 1 meeting deferral.
Okay. And was this considered? Yes, also by Public Health and Safety. Ms. Evans, you're recognized. This is on. Oh, I'm sorry, our Vice Chair Huffman, I'm sorry.
Part of my training curriculum, sorry, ma'am.
No, that's okay.
So it was RS 2024-746 was also deferred 1 meeting.
Okay, so by Rule 8.1, that is a mandatory, or is a deferral rather by rule, 1 meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, next is Agenda Item 64, RS 2024-770, sponsor Stiles, Gamble, and Parker. This is a resolution to amend ordinance number BL 2024-439 to authorize the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to accept additional public water and sanitary sewer mains, public sanitary sewer manholes, and easements, to modify the previous acceptance of water main, and to update map and parcel information for 2 properties located at 1000 Century Farm Circle and Century Farm Circle unnumbered, also known as Century Farms J Road Revision 1. Ms. Stiles, you're recognized.
Thank you very much, Vice Mayor. I need to withdraw this resolution because it needs to be an ordinance. So.
Okay, it is withdrawn. Okay, next is Agenda Item 65, sponsor Evans, Resolution 2024-771, sponsor Evans, Bradford, and Allen. This is a resolution identifying the skills and qualities needed for Nashville's Director of Metro Public Health. Ms. Evans, you're recognized.
Thank you. I'd like to withdraw.
Okay, it is withdrawn. Okay. Next is Agenda Item 66, Resolution 2024-772, sponsors Swara and Allen. This is a resolution recognizing more than 2 decades of the Nashville Public Education Foundation's support for Nashville's public schools and the 20th anniversary of its Public Schools Hall of Fame. Ms. Swara, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Yes, Chair Prep T. Go ahead, sir. You're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Rules confirmations of public elections considered RS 2024-772 and voted 5 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting.
Thank you, sir. It's back to you, Ms. Suara.
Thank you. I want to invoke Rule 12.3.
Yes.
So that everyone that is signing in affirmation will be listed as a sponsor. I think this organization does a lot of good work and they support our public schools. And I think,
So if you want to give us a motion to approve with
Motion
Rule
to approve.
12.3 applied. Okay, is there a second? Okay, now go ahead. That's okay, go
I'm
ahead.
going to go right through. Yes, this is a great organization. It was my fault for not sending it out for co-sponsorship on time, but I do feel like we all should be supportive of it and be thankful for all that they do for our public school. And before I renew my motion, I do want to say, take a point of personal privilege to say today's Nigerians Independence Day. And I do want to wish Nigeria a happy Independence Day and all Nigerians a good independence. And with that, I renew my motion.
Okay. There is a motion to approve with Rule 12.3 applied such that all members of the body voting in the affirmative will be signed on as a co-sponsor. It's properly seconded. Is there any further discussion on this resolution? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, you have adopted that resolution. Next is Agenda Item 67. This is RS 2024-773. Sponsors Stiles, Hill, Vo, Suara, Weiner, Evans, Allen, Welsh, Webb, Gamble, Toombs, Gadd, Ellis, Coopin, and Nash. This is a resolution recognizing the 20th anniversary of the Meet Us at the Bridge event. Ms. Stiles, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports?
Yes, Chair Prep T, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Rules confirmations of public elections considered RS 2024-773 and voted 5 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting.
Okay, it's back to you then, Ms. Stiles, for a motion on your bill.
Thank you. I'd like to move for approval with a brief comment, please.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, go ahead, Ms. Stiles.
So we are honoring the 20th anniversary of Meet Us at the Bridge. This is, of course, October, which is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. This Saturday at 8:30 on the Siegenthaler Pedestrian Bridge, we will be presenting this resolution to the organization. They are honoring the lives over the last 20 years of 191 individuals that have lost their lives to domestic violence, and 11 of those individuals took place this year. There's a lot of work that still needs to be done. I invite everyone to come out on Saturday to be able to honor these individuals, honor this organization. I want to thank Susan Tucker-Smith for all the work that she's done, one of our district attorneys, in pulling this event together every single year and fighting for the women that are trying to get out of their DV situations. So with that, I would ask for your approval and Rule 12.3, Murphy Rule, however that is. I'd like to
Okay,
apply
so you want to amend your motion for approval to apply Rule 12.3. Is there a second for that amended motion? Okay, it's properly moved and it's properly seconded. Everybody voting in the affirmative will be signed on as a co-sponsor. Is there any further discussion on this resolution? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, this resolution has passed. Okay, so now we are on bills on introduction and first reading. Okay, without objection, all items on first reading may be voted on at the same time, but I understand we may have a bill or two that needs to be pulled from first reading consideration. If so, if you would please seek to be recognized. Ms. Toombs, I see you there. Okay, go ahead, ma'am. Pardon? So, Ms. Toombs, this, per my notes, ordinance BL 2024-577 regarding Trinity Lane with it's going to have a proposed late substitute.
Yes.
Okay.
Needs to be pulled.
Okay, so that will, for now, be pulled. So agenda item 93 has been pulled. from a consolidated vote on first reading. Is there anyone else seeking to be pulling any other items from first reading consideration? Okay. Is there a motion for approval of all the items remaining on first consideration? Okay. Properly moved and seconded without objection. You have approved all items on first reading with the exception of agenda item 93. And so we'll go now to that and back to Ms. Toombs. This is Ordinance BL 2024-577. It is an ordinance to authorize building material restrictions and requirements for BL 2024-576. This is a proposed specific plan zoning district for properties located at 847 and 865 West Trinity Lane, approximately 102 feet west of Horizon Drive, 9.86 acres, to permit 250 multifamily residential units. This is, in fact, the companion bill regarding certain materials restrictions. Okay, Ms. Toombs, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Do I need to move approval of the bill first?
Yep.
Move for approval.
Is there a second? Okay, it's back to you for discussion, or you're moving your
I'd like
substitute.
to move the substitute.
Okay, is there a second for the motion to substitute? Okay. Is there any, providing explanation for it or anything?
Can I defer to Director Darby?
I apologize. It is a proposed late substitute. Okay, so we do have the bill before us on first reading. So now for purposes of hearing the substitute, would you like to suspend the rules?
Yes, I would.
Okay. Is there, Mr. Prep-T, did this come before you? Okay. Chair Prep-T on the nature of the late file.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. The Rules, Confirmations, and Public Elections Committee considered the late file nature of the substitute on BL 2024-577 and voted 6 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting in favor of suspending the rules.
Okay. Having heard the report of Chair Prep-T, is there any objection to the suspension of the rules to take up the substitute? Okay. Seeing none, the rules are suspended. So go ahead.
I'd like to move the substitute.
Okay. Is there a second? Okay. Any explanation?
Can I defer to Director Darby?
Go ahead, Ms. Darby.
This is a housekeeping substitute to correct a typographical error in the caption.
Okay, easy enough. Is there any discussion on the housekeeping substitute and a typo error? Surprisingly, seeing none. Okay, all in favor of the substitute, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, and then last, it's back to you for a motion to pass first reading as substituted.
Move for approval as substituted.
Okay, properly moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, this has passed its first reading as substituted. Okay. All right, next in the order of operations here is a late filed bill, Section N, sponsor Coupon, but also Parker. This is an ordinance authorizing the abandonment of Alley 196 right-of-way between 8th Avenue South and 7th Avenue South. Mr. Parker, you're going to need to request to suspend the rules.
I'd like to request to suspend the rules.
Okay. Chair Prep-T on the nature of the late file and the emergency, please, sir.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. The Rules, Confirmations, and Public Elections Committee considered the late file nature of this ordinance. And given the explanation from NDOT as well as from the sponsors, we voted 6 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting in favor of suspension of the rules.
Okay, members, having heard the report of Chair Prep-T, is there any objection to the suspension of the rules? Okay, seeing none, the rules are suspended. So it's back to you, Mr. Parker, for a motion on the bill.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'll move approval.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, is there any discussion on this ordinance on first reading? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any voting no or abstaining? Okay. This bill has passed its first reading. Okay, next is Agenda Section O, bills on second reading that were not on our consolidated consent agenda earlier. First among those is Agenda Item 97, Ordinance BL 2024-441, Sponsor Styles. This is an ordinance to amend Section 16.24.340 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws regarding algae, moss, mildew, lichen, and fungus. Ms. Stiles, you are recognized.
Thank you very much, Vice Mayor. So this was deferred 2 meetings.
We need
I'm
a
so
motion,
sorry.
Ms. Stiles.
I'd like to move for approval. Sorry.
Is there a second? Okay, properly moved and seconded. Go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you. So this was deferred 2 meetings to get some more information. During that conversation, I actually had wanted to respond to the question presented to the administration in terms of the organizations that are able to provide services for the elderly and also disabled, should they receive an abatement letter in regards to algae. I created a Council Connect after that meeting. Haven't had any responses to it in regards to the substitute, which includes taking roofs out of it, as well as qualifying 25% of the side of a structure of one wall qualifying as a violation. The Codes Department has said that they have no issues in terms of being able to enforce this because they are able to stand on the sidewalk. They do not have to go onto anyone's property. And the organizations that are provided by codes, I put in the, forgive me, I put in the Council Connect, one of which is Rebuilding Together, Nashville, and then Westminster, which is administered through 50 Forward. Both organizations are good with having a wait list in order to get those individuals that cannot comply pulled off of any potential violation list. Rebuilding Nashville is actually working on a pilot program right now with the Environmental Court, with Judge Allegra Walker, as well as codes to intervene so nothing can go to court and they step in and handle the work for those projects. So I think I've addressed the concerns that were brought in committee, hence why it passed committee and was able to come before us. Yeah, I think that's everything.
Yeah, and just for the body and the public, we already have our committee report from previously when it was approved with an amendment. So now we will continue our discussion. And first in the queue is Ms. Allen. Councilwoman Allen, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. I appreciate the intent behind this, and I appreciate the effort that has been made to ensure that there are entities out there that can help older property owners deal with this. I'm on the board of Rebuilding Together Nashville, and they do have a very deliberate and very geographically specific program that they do. So they are limited in geographic area and where they can respond to complaints. So I was asked by the executive director to just ensure that that was clear. Their mission is to help people stay in their homes. But they are very geographically oriented in a specific target area, and it would be difficult for them to go to other areas. So I just want to add that clarification.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Allen. Next is Ms. Evans Siegel. Thank you, Madam. Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. Go ahead. Go ahead. You're recognized.
I could just yell.
No, please don't.
Yeah.
Okay.
I appreciate the work the sponsor has done to pull together these resources. I think on the whole, this is incredibly helpful for our city, and we need a lot more of this, and it needs to be a lot more coordinated. My concern remains that they are limited, that they are volunteer, and I am curious sort of what Codes' position is on this bill at this point and where it's at, since it's not going back to committee on this deferral.
Ms. Evans Siegel, do you want to direct a question to the administration?
Yes, if the administration could answer that. Thank you.
Mr. Rosenberg, the question was whether the Codes Department has a position on this bill. You're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Madam President. Dave Rosenberg with the Mayor's Office. Codes leadership is unable to see a way where inspectors could properly identify and measure the violations that are contemplated in this legislation. The issues that I know of is the calculation of 25%, what qualifies as a side, the fact that a lot of sides are not visible from the public rights of way. So there are several issues about how they would go about enforcing any of this. And I'll add to Councilmember Allen's point, the list of organizations that Codes has, they all have an application process. Nothing is guaranteed, and they're not intended to be a rapid response tool. So there's not any guarantee that they would be able to get a response by the time an abatement period ended.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rosenberg. Mr. Parker, you're recognized. Oh, I'm sorry, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I appreciate all the work that's gone into this so far. One of the geographic areas that Rebuilding Together is active in is 37207 Dickerson Corridor. And so I have had the opportunity to work with them on some abatement issues, and they've been incredibly helpful. But I do want to kind of echo that capacity issue, both their geographic limitations and, you know, in my experience, I haven't quantified this or asked for reports from Codes, but we're not successfully intervening in, I would say, a majority of cases where we have, you know, aging homeowners who are having Codes issues and working to abate. And the process, there's one gentleman that we've been working with who I think it took us 12 calendar months to really get the intervention that we were looking for. And, you know, Codes was super cooperative with us, and they did work with us in that case to make sure that gentleman was able to get sorted out. But the infrastructure to intervene in these cases it's good that we have what we have, but we're not at a level that I think we can count on it from a legislating perspective. Again, volunteer organizations, they depend on how fundraising goes that year for their capacity. And I'm a little bit worried about the enforceability concerns that have been expressed by the administration as well. So I'm afraid I can't support this bill as is. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Parker. Ms. Stiles, it's back to you.
Thank you very much, Vice Mayor. Thank you all for your concerns. So in my conversation with Rebuilding Nashville, I was told that there was a desire to create support within other areas of town, and in the meantime, being able to create a wait list, and each person that would receive an abatement letter, and speaking to Codes, the number for the person that came to inspect the home would be on the letter, and that was how they would be pulled out of the queue. I spoke with legal about that letter as well as Codes, and when I spoke to Director Herbert about the bill, there were no concerns, so I'm not sure how there's a disconnect between my conversation with Mr. Herbert and Mr. Rosenberg. But I would say I cannot speak to others' experiences, but this has been something for me and others in the Southeast for sure, and I have certainly seen it in other parts of town. I don't think this is cumbersome to add to the list if we already have people coming out for high grass or cracked siding. This is very much the same process. It's an abatement letter. And if these individuals are able to take their name off a list by being placed on a waiting list, they don't move forward at all. They don't end up going to court. And so if our most vulnerable are being taken care of, then everyone else is able to take care of this issue. And Property Standards Chief Monica Bishop is the chief for the Southeast and someone who I went to first to talk about this and is very much in support of it. And I would hope that this council would take all of those things into consideration, and please vote yes.
Okay, Councilwoman Suara, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. When I'm looking at this bill, I kept asking myself, what do we need it for? And when I think about LG on a house, there are two reasons. One is people feeling like the house doesn't look nice to see, and the neighbors are complaining that it doesn't have a good look. That's one. There's also the issue of health reasons for the people that live in there. And so if we were doing this as a means to protect people and make sure they're healthy and get them help, maybe I'll put my support behind it. But the fact that it's looking at punitive stuff, probably for people that cannot afford to take care of it to start with, but now we want to penalize them, coupled with the fact that we now need codes to go out, I think is redundant, and I think is not necessary. With that, I'll be voting no. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Suara. Councilwoman Johnston, you're recognized.
Previous question.
Okay. Ms. Johnston has called the previous question. Is there a second? Okay, that's a non-debatable motion. All in favor of the previous question, please say aye. Okay, any voting no? Okay, so we will move to the vote. Mr. Clerk, I guess even though this is on second, anticipating a lot of no's, or rather some no's, not to, could you please put this on the machine, sir? Okay, all votes are in. Mr. Clerk, please show the vote. Okay, the motion fails. So this bill has not passed its second reading. Okay. Okay, moving on to agenda item 99, bills on third reading, section P of your agenda, ordinance BL 2024-476, sponsor Porterfield, is an ordinance to amend chapter 2.112 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws regarding the membership of the Metropolitan Nashville Arts Commission and the process for approving the criteria of awarding funds. Ms. Porterfield, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I would like to move for approval.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, back to you, Ms. Porterfield. There's a motion to approve, properly seconded.
Move for approval.
Okay. Is there any discussion on this bill? Okay, seeing none, we'll try it by voice. All in favor, please say aye. Any voting no? Pardon? Okay, raise your hand if you're voting no. Just one, okay? Any abstentions? Okay, with just one no vote, Mr. Clerk, if you would please record Ms. Evans as a no. This ordinance has passed its third and final reading. Okay. Next is agenda item 100, ordinance BL 2024-491, sponsor Taylor and Gamble. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, by changing from R6A to RS5 zoning for properties located at 1712 A, B, and C Arthur Avenue, approximately 249 feet west of Jane Street. That's 0.17 acres and located within the detached accessory dwelling unit overlay district. Mr. Taylor, sir, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Move for approval, please.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, properly moved and properly seconded. Let's see, I believe you need your committee report, sir? Is
Thank
that-
you. Committee reports, please.
Okay. Chair Gamble, a committee report, please, ma'am, on 491, sponsor Taylor. Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. Go ahead.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Planning and Zoning recommended approval, 9 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting.
Okay. All right. So with that committee report in, we do
Thank you. I'd
have.
like to renew my motion.
Thank you,
for
sir.
approval. Thank you.
Motion to approve, properly seconded. Okay, so colleagues, this is there any discussion on this bill? Okay, seeing none, we can move to the vote. This is a disapproved bill by the Planning Commission, and as such, it requires a roll call vote, and it requires 27 votes for passage. So, Mr. Clerk, if you would please open the machine. Mr. Huffman, are you seeking to vote on this matter? Okay, all votes are in. Mr. Clerk, please show the vote. Okay, the motion passes. This required 27 votes. It has gained 32. And so this bill has passed its third and final reading. Okay, next is agenda item 101, ordinance BL 2024-509, sponsors Evans, Siegel, Suara, Nash, Ewing, Coopin, Allen, Toombs, Spain, Huffman, Lee, Benedict, Hill, Gadd, Weiner, Gregg, Ellisvo, and Benton. This is an ordinance amending chapters 10.24 and 6.64 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws to restrict the solicitation or distribution of handbills on private property to daylight hours only. Okay, Ms. Evans, Chair, you are recognized on your bill.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to move approval.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded, and we're on to discussion. Mr. Cap, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I voted against this on second reading, and I'm going to vote against it again tonight, and I want to explain my reasons. This bill purports to ban a range of expressive activity, legitimate expressive activity, and I don't like burdening free speech and expressive activity. Sometimes, if you want to organize your neighbors, you need to leaflet, and you may even need to do that in the evening or early in the morning, depending on your work schedule and your caregiving schedule, and I don't want to turn that into a code violation.
Okay, thank you, sir. Is there any further discussion? Okay. Knowing that we have a no vote, Ms. Darby did provide me a correction last time. Usually when you have a singularity of a no or an abstention, you can just record that with the clerk. But when we are on third reading, if we do know that we have a no vote, we do need to do a recorded vote, a machine vote. So, Mr. Clerk, if you will please open the machine, sir. All votes are in. Mr. Clerk, please show the vote. Okay, the motion passes on third reading, third and final reading. You have adopted this bill. Okay, next is agenda item 102. This is ordinance BL 2024-510. Sponsors Prep T, Evans, Evans Siegel, Swara, Nash, Ewing, Coopin, Toombs, Spain, Huffman, Lee, Benedict, Hill, Vo, Gad, Weiner, Gregg, Stiles, Ellis, and Allen. This is an ordinance amending section 11.12.040 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws regarding exemptions for wearing disguises in public places. Mr. Prepty, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Move approval.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, there's a motion to approve, properly seconded. We are on to discussion. Mr. Parker, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I want to address the concern that the person brought up at public comment, as well as I've heard from other folks about this. There's already a prohibition on face coverings and masks in the Metro Code, and we're not really weighing the merits of that today. I think we could have a discussion or debate about that. What this bill does is create firm exemptions for medical and religious usings of face coverings, and so the prohibition is already on the books. All we're doing here is codifying these exemptions that are extremely valid exemptions that need to be there if that other code is going to be there. So with that, I am going to be supporting this today.
Okay, thank you. Is there any further discussion on this bill? Okay, seeing none, we'll try this one by voice. All in favor, please say aye. Any voting no? Okay, and so with that, Ms. Darby, we will have to go on the machine. Mr. Clerk, please open the machine. Okay, all votes are in. Oh, is the vote still open, Mr. Clerk? We're gonna allow you to vote, Ms. Lee. Mr. Horton, are you having issue with your tablet? Okay, ITS is coming to you.
He's marked as absent. Do you see that?
Yeah, he wasn't in the room, so I marked him just as I was going down the list. So now it's not letting me uncheck.
Okay.
So he wasn't in the room, so I just marked him as absent as I was going down the list. And I unchecked his absence.
Can you hit a different option?
We have all votes reported now.
Okay, all votes are in. Mr. Clerk, please show the vote. Okay, Okay, the motion passes, 34 in favor, 1 against, 0 abstentions. Okay, next is Agenda Item 103, Ordinance BL 2024-511. Sponsors Evan Siegel, Parker, Evans, Swara, Welsh, Nash, Ewing, Coopin, Toombs, Spain, Lee, Benedict, Hill, Vo, Gad, Weiner, Gregg, Stiles, Huffman, Allen, and Benton. This is an ordinance amending Chapter 11.12 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws to create buffer zones to maintain public safety around public buildings and parking lots. Ms. Evan Siegel, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. Move to approve.
Okay, is there a second? There's a motion to approve, properly seconded. Okay, you don't have to say anything. We're on discussion on the bill. Is anyone seeking discussion on this bill? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to the vote. All in favor, please say aye. Any voting no? Any abstaining? We can record a singular abstention on third. So, Mr. Cortez, you'll be recorded as an abstention. This ordinance has passed its third and final reading. You have adopted this legislation. Okay. Next is Agenda Item 104, Ordinance BL 2024-512. Sponsors Toombs, Parker, Evans, Swara, Nash, Coopin, Spain, Huffman, Lee, Benedict, Hill, Ewing, Vo, Gad, Weiner, Gregg, Stiles, Allen, Porterfield, Evans, Siegel, and Benton. This is an ordinance amending Section 12.12.170 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws to prohibit the placement of unauthorized signs, signals, or markings over a highway. Ms. Toombs, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Move for approval.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, there's a motion to approve, properly seconded. We are on to discussion. Mr. Cap, you are recognized, sir.
Vice Mayor, thank you. I'll incorporate all the remarks I made about the leafleting ordinance. The ordinance we have in place already bans distracting or dangerous signs that are visible from roadways. This proposal would expand that ban to include any non-distracting signs or any signs that for one reason or another aren't visible from the roadway itself. And I'm not going to be voting tonight to burden free speech and expressive activity in that way.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cap. Is there anyone else seeking discussion? Okay, knowing that we have a no vote and that this is on third reading, we will have to go on the machine. Mr. Clerk, if you would please open the vote. Okay, all votes are in. Mr. Clerk, please show the vote. With 27 votes yes, 5 no, and 3 abstentions, this bill passes on its third and final reading. We've adopted this legislation. Okay. Last on our agenda, I believe, is agenda item 105, ordinance BL 2024-513, sponsors Evan Siegel, Parker Hill and Vo, and GAD. This is an ordinance amending sections 12.48.030 and 12.48.050 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws to grant the Director of the Nashville Department of Transportation and Multimodal Infrastructure, NDOT, the authority to set time limits for passenger and freight loading zones. Ms. Evan Siegel, also Commissioner of the Traffic and Parking Commission, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. Move to approve.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, there's a motion to approve, properly seconded. Is there any discussion on this legislation? Okay, Ms. Porterfield, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I want to stand in support of this legislation, but I did want to lift something up. Recently, myself, Councilwoman Soror, Councilwoman Sepulveda, Councilmember Evans, Councilmember Parker, and Councilmember Harrell went to a community meeting that was held with some of our rideshare drivers. And one of the concerns that was lifted up was around the passenger loading and unloading, because as it stands now, they only have 3 minutes to load or unload a passenger. And in cases where there is maybe like a mother with a small child or a baby and they're having to get out like the baby seat and things of that nature, sometimes it takes a little bit more than 3 minutes for that family to get out of the vehicle. And some of the drivers expressed that they have been receiving tickets when they were doing what they felt was the right thing, which was to help a family to unload. So I just wanted to lift that up because this legislation does allow the director of NDOT to determine what the appropriate amount of time is for that loading and unloading. And I would just request that that our NDOT director does, once we pass this, that our NDOT director does work with members of the community and rideshare drivers to hear some of those concerns so that we can make sure that the time that is decided upon is appropriate for that. So I stand in support, but I wanted to also just lift that up. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Porterfield. Is there any further discussion on this bill on third reading? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to the vote. All in favor, please say aye. Any voting no? Any abstaining? Okay, you have passed and adopted this on third reading. That concludes this evening's agenda. Our next council meeting will be on Tuesday, October the 15th. Is there a motion to adjourn? Okay, we are adjourned.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.